veil, wipe away tears, remove all sorrow and all fears, for beyond the veil all is right, all is whole. Grant me this sight.
There was a woman that, when I was in Bible college, that they brought, we lived down on an 85-acre farm, and she had been raised in a mental hospital from the time she was born there. Her mother was nuts, crazy, and she got pregnant there, had this baby. Well, I'm 70 years old, so this was a long, long time ago. You know, this was when I was in my 20s, that was 50 years ago, and that was before Children's Protective Services or anything like that. So she just got raised there. Well, she didn't know anything about being normal. You know, she shuffled when she walked, like we used to call it the Thorazine or Stelazine walk. You know, they were all so zoned out from the medication. And, you know, they shuffled along wherever they went. So she shuffled. And she babbled and babbled and babbled and babbled and babbled. Poor thing. I mean, that's all she was ever around. And she was 33 years old. And every once in a while, most of the time she just babbled, and she didn't bother anybody. She was a sweetheart. She knew everybody's name. Kind of shout good morning and say, good morning, Beth. But every once in a while she'd go crazy. And she would just start getting just, you know, wild, violent, crazy, self-destructive, just tearing at her skin and just horrible. And she talked so much, she babbled and talked so fast and so much, and it was just we call it a flight of ideas. You guys who are nurses, I'm sure remember that. And there's no connection between the phraseology. It's just this constant, you know, Peter Pan, Roy Rogers, you know, I mean, just, who knows, it's just whatever happens to come out. But she talked so much that she burned a hole through her bottom lip from the acid in the saliva. You can sit up here, Pumpkin. And finally they had her taped down, or, you know, leathered down to a gurney. And they decided we were going to do 24-hour prayer sessions. And I really wanted to help her. My heart just went out to her. I couldn't stand it. But I signed up from the 2 to 4 in the middle of the night because one of the teenagers would come down and sit with my babies while they were asleep. But I prayed all day. I'd get on my knees 3 or 4 times a day and say, God, help me to help her, help me to help her. I mean, I was just an insignificant little grunt, not much more than what I am not now, but I felt much more like an insignificant little grunt. And what did I have to offer? But I really wanted to help her. And there was another lady that was there, and she, with her family, and she took a nap that day, and she had a dream about her. And in the dream, she was in this giant oil well, but there was nothing in it. And she was inside, and she was banging on the inside, screaming, help me, can't anybody hear me, help me, help me. And then she came down and told me about this dream, and I felt like my insides were being ripped out of my chest. I couldn't even stand it. And I can think about it now, and it's like, oh my God, there's a person in there. There's somebody that wants to come out. You know, there's a person in there that nobody can reach, nobody can get to, nobody's even trying, nobody knows how. And she wants to get out, she can't get out. And what happened to Ted? Oh, there you are. I was just blended in with the... And and I even prayed harder, but I prayed so hard, and I just cried, and I knew she was... Well, when I went in there, you know, everybody's taking turns, and a lot of the big deal elders were there, and they were all doing all their praying, but really they weren't. By that time, they were drinking coffee and talking over the coffee table. You know, and there wasn't much of a real anointing going on, do you know what I mean? They were just kind of going through the motions, and maybe they really meant it when it was during their time. Maybe they were tired by then or something, I don't know. But that's what I saw when I walked in. Well, I was so full of this madness inside, and I just went right over to her, and I knelt down by her ear. And I said, Beth, And I said, Sharon had a dream about you, and this is what she saw, and she told me about it, and I know you're in there, and I know you can hear me, and I know you want to come out, and I want you to come out. I want to help you come out, and I don't know how to help you, but I'm going to tell you that I'm not going to get up off my knees to your help. If I have to spend the rest of my life. And she turned around and spit on me. And then she started with this horrible language, just horrible, disgusting language, and just screaming and yelling, and she just went nutty, and I didn't care. I didn't like that spitting. But anyway, I hear. So I just kept talking in their ear, talking in their ear, talking in their ear, and then I started singing this song, Peace, Peace, Wonderful Peace. And I sang it, and I sang it, and I sang it, and the more I sang it, the more agitated. But I kept singing it, and singing it, and singing it, and singing it, and singing it. And pretty soon, all those big deal people that were milling around stopped milling around, and they came over, and they started singing it. And pretty soon, everybody in the room was singing it. And so my 2 to 4 shift and the 1 to 3, they stayed on, and the room was just filled with such an incredible spirit of God by singing that song. And then, all of a sudden, she just let out this cry, and that was it. She said, "Hi, Michelle, how are you?" And I said, "I'm fine, how are you?" She said, "I'm starving." So they took the straps off of her and fed her and gave her stuff to drink, and she's been fine ever since. So when you learn these songs, you're learning them because there's power in them. There's power to heal, If you just took one of these songs and just kept singing the same verse over and over and over and over and over and over, what you're doing is you're priming the pump of that spirit, and you're getting it so that it's starting to flow, and it's starting to. And our job is not to direct it. Our job is not to tell it what to do or even what we need. Our job is just to get it to flow. And when it starts flowing, well, what can it not do? And what wouldn't it do? It's the fullness of God in spirit. And so it brings with it all the attributes and aspects of God. If wisdom is what you need, and counsel and direction, that's what you get. If healing is what you need, that's what you get. If finances and getting straightened out need, that's what you get. If a relationship's on the rocks, whatever it is, it automatically heals, okay? So when we sing these, that's really what we're trying to do, is to teach them to you so that you can take them home, because some of you guys are struggling with some, yuck, and you want to get it unstuck. You get that spirit unstuck, and there's nothing that will not happen to you, for you, through you, as you, to you. Okay? All right. Well, last week I was going to talk about this, but I didn't because of John and Elma, but I'm going to this week. So we were talking about the priesthood, and I asked you guys a couple weeks ago if you would read Ezekiel 44. I only gave you one little insignificant, tiny little 2-sentence scripture to read. Did anybody do it? All right, then raise your hand if you read it. Ezekiel 44:28. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Gee, you had 2 chances. I'm serious though. This is your life. This is your life. Not the literal translation, not what you've been hearing all your life that's brought condemnation and confusion into your life. But this is the liberating. Once you start really understanding, to him that overcometh, I will give to eat of the hidden manna. There's stuff in here that we haven't begun to tap. We just have to plug our ears to all this goofy stuff that's being said over and over and over that brings no life at all, and just say, what does this mean? I know when I had my first Bible, I had a million little question marks next to it. I'd read something like, what in the world? I put a question mark, I put the date. Next question, I mean, I had pages of question marks. You know, because I knew that nobody knew. I knew that nobody knew. Everywhere I went, somebody said something different, and they said they were right. And then, you know, everybody told me the Pope knew it all. And when I found out that wasn't true, I quit believing everybody. And I said, you know what, nobody really knows. But I'm gonna know. I found the scripture that says, it is given unto you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of God. And I underlined it and circled it and put stars next to it, and I said, okay, then you'll teach me. Then I found the one that says, I'll give you the spirit of truth, and it will lead and guide you into all understanding and all truth. And I thought, okay then, I can do this. You know, I'm tapped in, and I can do this. And the more I've done it through the years, for the last 40 years, the less I've been able to tolerate the same old. Hebrews 6 says, not laying again the same foundation that we laid 45 years ago. And there was nothing wrong with that foundation. Repentance, baptism, healing, laying on of hands. He said, not going over and over and over and over and over the same stuff you learned. He said, let's climb Jacob's ladder and let's learn something new every day. Every day there's something new and exciting. And when he speaks it to you and he teaches it to you, whatever you need that day, it'll heal that day. Because that's just the way he is. Okay? All right, so we're going to talk about the priesthood. Is there in the songbook, where's Jason? Honey, do you have your songbook? Is there one that says, here I am, Lord, it is I, Lord?
Yes.
Does anybody know that song? I don't really know it all that well. Do you know it? Okay. Maybe we'll sing it there at the end. Maybe I'll just make you get up and sing it.
Page 24.
No, that's okay. Just, maybe I'll forget. You can always pray. Okay. Ezekiel 44 talks about, first let me tell you this. Anyway, Ezekiel 44 talks about two different kinds of priesthood. And I'm going to put them so that you guys can see these too. Is this better? Yes. Okay, two different kinds of priesthood. The priests that we're going to compare the two. But there are 5 major offerings, and every week we're going to talk about each one of those 5 offerings, and we're going to put it into an understanding of spiritual significance where it becomes usable for us and helps us gain entrance into that place of the presence of God to gain whatever it is that we need to gain. You know, I want you to get rid of the idea that God gives, because God doesn't give anything. God just is all of it. It's like the sun that shines. That sun is not giving you light and warmth. It just is light and warmth. And here's why that's important. Because if you believe that God gives, then you can also believe that he might withhold. Do you understand? And there is no withholding. There is just this continual outpouring of the Spirit of God. Just a continual, ever-present outpouring of the Spirit of God. And it goes on, and it goes on, and it fills all space. And if you would let it, it would flow through you, and on its way through you, it would heal you. It would heal your family. It would heal your finances. It would heal your business. It would heal your bad attitude or temper or whatever. But the whole key is to get it to flow. So when you go to God, you're not going to God to give me something that you're not already giving me. What you're really going to God for is, help me learn how to receive this. Help me be open to receive it. Well, these 5 offerings, when we study them and we see how they are to be done by those of us who choose to let God make unto us kings and priests, like he said, all of a sudden you realize this thing is flowing. It's really, really flowing. So there's a reason to study the 5 offerings. Yes? Okay. The first one, if you're taking notes, You don't have to, though, because we'll talk about it forever. The first one is called the burnt offering, B-U-R-N-T, offering. The second one is called the meat offering. The third one is the peace offering. Then the sin offering and the trespass offering. You know why we turn our eyes towards Jesus, look full in his wonderful face? Because up until he came with his words and his understanding, mankind was locked into a God that they were terrified of. Terror, a God you had to please when you knew you couldn't please. You know, the rules were impossible. Impossible. That you had to earn whatever it was. Do you understand? It was a God of wrath and fear and trembling and rules and regulations. And then Jesus came along and wiped that whole thing out and said, let me reintroduce you to the real nature of God. So when we turn our eyes upon Jesus, we're actually turning to know the true nature of God and to feel the presence of that true nature of God, okay? All right. Those are the 5 offerings. If we get to the burnt offering tonight, fine. If we don't, we'll start it next week, okay? All right. Okay. Charlie, back in my office, I think it's right on the table where I sit in that chair of study with that light, and it's a brown journal, hardback journal. It's got all my notes in it, and I forgot them. I brought them on the same day. 2 kinds of priesthood, so let's talk about that. This is such a wobbly deal. All right. Okay, this is priesthood number 1. And this is priesthood number 2. Now get it out of your mind, we're not talking about people that wear turned around collars. Okay, get that out of your mind. I'm not talking about popes and bishops and priests, and I'm not talking about rabbis, and I'm not talking about ministers. I'm talking about you. Because we are called to be kings and priests. Kings in that we fulfill the first commandment, which was take dominion and subdue all the darkness that you see in your path. Well, no one's done that one. And the next one is the priesthood, and that's what we're going to start studying now. Come to find out that in the fulfilling of the priesthood, we automatically fulfill taking dominion. It is the fulfillment of the priesthood that enables us to take dominion and to subdue without any effort at all, because then that spirit is flowing. Does that make sense? And once you get it going, then that's it. It's going. You guys, if you leave after the memorial service, you can pick this up on YouTube if you're interested in keeping and following it till you get to the end of at least this study or whatever, okay? Just a sec, Charlie will be back in a minute. But I can read it to you. I'll read it to you while he's coming. It's kind of dark in here, but really hot.
Yeah, it is.
Hot as a pepper sprout. This is beyond.
I should have cranked it on earlier and I did not do it.
Now what do we do?
Open the windows.
All right, open the windows and doors. Would you mind opening some of those windows?
I can't get mine there.
It is plumb hot. That's it.
Oh, man, it's nice outside. Beautiful outside.
Thank you.
Oh, it's nice now.
Well, it's better. Okay, let's not start muttering and talking, okay? I'm sorry that I didn't have this down here. Hello, you here? Yeah. Okay, one of the things that Ezekiel 44 says is that there are 2 kinds of priesthood. One, he says, serves the house, and the other serves the Lord. Okay? So I want you to put your thinking caps on for just a sec. This one serves. The house is the fulfillment of the rituals that we are supposed to fulfill. It is the outside appearances. It's the way we behave. It's walking right, talking right, dressing right, being right, you know. It's the greatest liberation in the world to find out that even when I do everything wrong, I still get God in all of His fullness. Because He's not interested in behavior and in the way I'm doing to earn anything. He's interested in serving the Lord. Okay? Okay? So, there's lots of different ways that we can do this. Going through the motions. I remember that horrible meeting where I was so decimated by those people. And somebody said, "You're not even a Christian." And then somebody else said, oh God, it was the worst thing I ever went through. And somebody else said, yeah, she is. And then this great big giant man stood up and right across from me, and he said, "Then why don't you act like it?" And I said, "Is that what it is to you, an act? Everybody acts the same and then you're a Christian? Is that what Christianity is to you? An act? If I don't act the same way you and all your little stereotype cookie cutters, then I'm not a Christian. Is that it to you? No wonder you hated it. Act like it." I said, "I do believe I'm the only one in here acting like it. When everybody else is screaming and yelling and condemning." And it was because, it has nothing to do with anything, but it was because I was defending the right of Mormons to adopt children. And they had an absolute heart attack over it. Absolute heart attack. Because they hate anybody that isn't like them. They hate things they don't understand. And I say, "Well, have you ever read it? You know, oh, you study Christian Science? Oh my God, you must be I don't know what I am. Something, oh my God." I said, "Well, wait, have you ever read it?" "No." I mean, that's as shallow as a mud puddle to me. It's just, what do you know about what the Mormons teach? Is there anything you can glean from it that is any life to you? No. Have you studied it? No. Won't you withhold judgment? Won't you just love, accept, bless them? Because they're all children of the Lord. Okay? Another thing it says is that they will bear their iniquity because they serve the house in an attitude of idolatry. So I want to talk about what it means to have idolatry in your heart. There's none of us that don't have that. There's not a person that doesn't. So I'm not talking about you guys anymore, I'm talking about this guy, right? All right. Here is this flow of the Spirit of life through us. Here's this beautiful flow through us. And it brings everything that we could ever need if we just let it flow. But rather than let it flow, and rather than go to God and say, "How do I get this to flow? How do I get this thing to flow through me so that it gives me what I need?" Because you own my body. You own my life, you created me, therefore you're the responsible party, and yet here I am with this situation and now I don't know what to do. Well, you know, I'm just saying that because I do, you know, diseases. The idol of disease is the feather that is my craw. But there's a lot of other ones out there, you know, a lot of other ones. So instead of doing that, we run to the what? The arm of flesh. And we say, "Well, the doctor said to do this, so I'm going to do this." I got another letter, which is about the 550,000th letter I got saying the same thing. How do I go and do this with the doctors and trust God? How do I do both? I feel like I'm being torn in the middle. Well, you are being torn in the middle because you're a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways, and he can't possibly receive anything from the Lord. You're like a reed blowing in the wind. You don't know if you're up, down, and right? So yeah, I can see why you would feel confused. That's confusing. Because you're not picking anything. You're not picking and choosing. You're trying to grab everything. That's trusting in the arm of flesh. Because why do you suppose you would trust in anything other than the flow of the Spirit of God? Raise your hand. Let's just talk for a minute. Marcia.
Fear.
Fear of what?
of what might happen.
So, fear that God may not pull through. Fear that you might fail because you don't know how to do it, and if you fail, then you might just fall flat on your face, right? That's the,
Because we just don't know God sometimes.
we just don't know God
I
ever.
believe,
We don't know the nature of God. You know, we still go back to what the Old Testament, because the whole world is stuck. They all, oh, worship Jesus, oh, how I love Jesus. And then he says, this is about God, and then we run back here and we say, you know, look out. You know, he's gonna get you, take you to the back of the wood shop. You know, so we're all over the board. We're all over the board, we don't know if we're coming or going. So no wonder when something happens, we get afraid, and we think, oh, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do because I don't know what to trust. And so they'll say, I know that this doesn't work, and I know it's gonna make me worse, but I'm gonna do it anyway. It's sad. It breaks my heart. Or should I just do this? Or I don't know, maybe I should do this. Or should I do this? Well, this is what you see on somebody at priesthood who is serving the house. They will talk about, praise the Lord, praise the Lord, praise the Lord. They'll talk about all the things about God. They could talk about God day and night. While they're popping their pills, while they're running to their attorney, you know, to sue somebody, while they're insisting on getting their own way, do you understand? While they're still living as the world lives out there that doesn't know God, they're still pulling. I go to these churches to teach, and at the end, you know, I've just taught my head out till I'm just dried out, and I go to the back of the room, you know, because you're supposed to shake hands with everybody, because that's what you do. It's disgusting, and that's what I do. And then they all start talking about their chemotherapy, and they're going for their MRI, and they're used to travel with me. You heard them. You know, she'd stand behind that thing, you know, doing the books, selling the books and the tapes and everything. And they all stand out, you know, when's your appointment? When do you I think, why did I just waste this whole 3 days of my life flying out here and talking? They didn't hear a thing. I remember when I finished, this one lady, this pastor got up and I was all done, everybody stood up, standing ovation. Oh my God, she's so wonderful, she's so wonderful. And then this little pastor stands up and says, now you women, you be sure and get your mammograms. That was the first thing out of her mouth after I finished, and I was like,
Do you feel like starting over on your teachings?
no, I feel like we're going home. I just feel like going home. I feel like Peter did, let's just go fishing. You know, this isn't working, let's just go fishing. So I thought you said fishing. No, seriously, anyway, idols is trusting in anything other than what God is telling you to do. Now, am I saying that taking a pill is wrong? No, I am saying it's wrong. Am I saying going to anything for help other than God is wrong? Am I saying it? No. Yes, I am so saying it. Because what should happen first? And you wait, and you wait, and you wait, and he either tells you right away, or it doesn't make any difference if you wait for months. I'm going to prove to you that you own my body, and you own my life, and my trust is in you, and I believe in you, and whether I stand here and flat die, I will stand here and die, because I'd rather stand here and die waiting for you to speak to me than run off and trust in something other than you.
Amen.
Now, when you mean that, and you're not going here, there, and everywhere, and here, there, and everywhere, and here, blah, 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 blah. We call them butterflies. Oh, gee, you're the 4th place I've come to. Go home then, please, because you haven't heard a thing. Yes, I am saying, don't do a thing. You go right to God and you say, this is what is going on. You tell me what to do. You own my body, you own my life, you are the responsible party. My responsibility is to go to you and to wait on you until you direct me. Well, then the first thing you're going to hear is, what if I don't hear right? What if I miss it? God is so mean, letting you miss that. You poor thing. What?
You
won't miss it.
You won't miss it because of the love of God isn't gonna let you miss it. You know, if he has to bonk you over the head, if he has to trip you on the path, if an angel has to come and stand in the front of you and not let you go that direction, he isn't gonna let you miss it. Why? Because you asked him, because you trusted him, because you want to go the way that he's directing you. So then it becomes a social gospel. I mean, we talk about Jesus. Oh, yes, of course. I talk about Jesus. But you're not going to see the healings. You're still going to see families falling apart. You're still going to see people, marriages falling apart. You're still going to see financial problems. You're still going to see the same diseases that happen to them that happen to people that never walk into a church. Do you understand?
Yes.
You're going to see the same of everything, and they're going to be going the same way and asking God to bless that way. Well, I'm going to do that. You know, let's all pray that God blesses that. And did you ask? Did you ask? Did he tell you to go? Because if he told you to go, you don't have to pray for him to bless it. Because if he told you to go, he's already blessed it. And if he didn't tell you, then what in the world are you doing? I'd be scared. People say, where do you get the courage not going when something happens? And I said, where do you get the courage going? You know? My land. No way, not me. Okay. Okay, that comes next. So the first commandment that we ever received from Moses was, take dominion. Oh, okay. I am the Lord thy God, thou shalt not have any strange gods among you. Isn't that how it says?
Something like that, but it's a gift.
Well, you know, I was Catholic and that's all I mean. I
Yeah.
am the Lord thy God, thou shalt not have strange gods before you. And that's a strange God. Trusting in something that you have not been led to deliberately is a strange God. Well, there's no other way to solve this conflict. I'm getting an attorney. Strange God. I remember the first time I was arrested for doing the clinic back in 1979, in the fall, early fall of 79. And they came and handcuffed me, you know, and they had all the lights going down. I went downtown, and I got out right away. And everybody said, you know, you got to get an attorney, you got to get an attorney. Well, I had a patient whose husband was an attorney, and they were Christians. So I called him, and he sold me out. He sold me out. They ended up putting me, I was supposed to say, yes, you're guilty for practicing medicine without a license, even though I've never practiced medicine in my life, and I wouldn't practice medicine if you put a gun in my head. And then I got 6 months probation, and I got a $50 fine, and that was all. But I knew that I did it wrong. You know when I knew I did it wrong? When they were fingerprinting me. And I thought, this doesn't feel right. And then they took my clothes off, and they looked at my scar, my kidney scar, and my appendix scar, and, you know, whatever. I mean, they just did one, and they would take pictures. I said, you know what? This is not right. Something's wrong here. So I went on back, and I continued doing what I was doing. No one said I needed to stop. They just wanted to appease the people who turned me in and say, okay, she pleaded guilty, and we put her on probation. But they didn't say I had to stop doing what I was doing, so I went back and kept on doing it, right? About 3 months later, I got arrested again on a federal charge for practicing medicine without a license because you already admitted that you had done it on a state level. So now you're cooked. And then everybody says, get an attorney, get an attorney. I said, there's no way. There's just no way I'm going to do that again. I've repented for it. I ran off, I didn't wait on the Lord, and there's no way. I got scared, and I ran and did what I did. So I just said, you know, whatever you want to do, God, whatever you want to do. I got these letters, State of Texas versus Michelle Longo. I put them down in the drawer, and I closed the drawer. This is when I met you guys. And I didn't even open them because I knew, number one, I wouldn't understand them, and number two, it scared the death. gonna be scared. So I just didn't open them. I had a stack of unopened legal letters from the state of Texas. And I just kept waiting on the Lord, and everybody said, what are you doing? And I said, doing exactly what I need to do. I'm taking care of sick people. God will take care of me, I'm gonna take care of sick people. I'm gonna take care of who comes in here, and God will take care of me. I'm not gonna worry about it. Okay. Pretty soon, this attorney comes in as a new patient. He's got stomach ulcers. And the worst language you ever heard in your life. But, you know, I was raised by my father. I can handle it. I just wish I kind of toned it down a little bit. But anyway, he did have stomach ulcers, and, you know, he drank a lot of coffee, and he smoked a lot of cigarettes, and he didn't make the stomach ulcers any better, so. But he said, I got sent to you by Dr. Daggett, Jack Daggett, and he said, and he says you're in deep, deep trouble with the law, and so I want to help you. And I said, no, I don't want your help, thank you. And I said, let's take care of your ulcer. He said, no, I'm gonna help you. I wanna help you, I know you're in deep trouble. Why won't you tell me? And I said, because I don't trust you. I don't know you, I don't trust you, and I don't want an attorney. And he said, girl, he said, I used to be a district attorney, and I used to prosecute people like you. Now I'm going into private practice, you'll be my first client, and I'm not gonna charge you a dime. I said, oh, well then.
Maybe God's talking.
Maybe this is God, I don't know, God, I don't know, this is a strange person that you sent, but that's okay. And he went in the other office, and he opened up all these, and you could hear him cussing and yelling and carrying on. And he called up to Austin. I missed 4 pretrial hearings, I missed all kinds of, they had 4 warrants out for my arrest, I missed all that stuff, I didn't even know, so I was oblivious, and God was taking care of me. They couldn't find me. They found me before, when they arrested me, they couldn't find me. They sent the letters to where I am, but anyway. Neat to tell you. And so he got this, we got a trial, and we went, and I won. I'm going to tell you the whole story. The guy that turned me in, his mother died of leukemia a week after the trial. I told her, if you just say you're sorry, God will forgive you, and so will I. I'm not sorry. I said, okay. And that was the end of her. The guy that came and pretended to be a patient and told me he had stomach ulcers, which not this attorney, another guy. And he said, can you help me without all these pills? I said, oh, that stuff will make you sicker, I can help you. Well, he had a microphone in his bib coverall, so everything I said was just, hanging myself by my words. I know, so I was doomed. But his stomach ulcer perforated, and he died a month before the trial. So really, I had no witnesses against me. So when I got to the trial, the medical investigator was dead. The lady was almost dead that turned me in, who had never been a patient. I never even met her, but her son had. And there was nobody really to cross-examine. There was nothing, so they just asked me these philosophical questions of why you're doing what you're doing, and they sent me home. That was it. That was the end of it. That was waiting on the Lord. That was waiting on the Lord. The next time that we were arrested, just about 4 years ago, cease and desist. And I said, no, I'm not going to cease and desist. Immediately, I said, no, I'm not going to do it. Immediately or ever. I'm not going to cease and desist. And so we prayed and we prayed and we prayed. And the sheriff started coming out. And I thought, okay, well, I called my daughter, who's an attorney. She works at the AG office up in Austin. And I said, Laura, I'm in such deep trouble down here. They cease and desist. And she said, okay, what's going on? I said, well, there's cop cars coming in. And she said, okay, I'm going to make a phone call, and we're going to do a temporary injunction. And what is it when you stop somebody for beating you up? And a restraining order and temporary injunction against them. So they had to stop right away. And so she went to bat for it. It took 2 years, and somebody sent me $100,000. I never asked for it. I never told anybody we needed money, because Laura would have done it for free. But because somebody sent me that, I was able to pay her. And then about 6 months later, I got another $100,000 from the same person. It came by courier. Never asked for it. I never would. And then about a year and a half later, I got another $40,000. And that was the end of it, and we won. So, am I saying never go to an attorney? I'm saying wait on the Lord. Am I saying never go to a doctor? I'm saying wait on the Lord. Do you understand the difference? Yes. It's not what you do. It's who is the preeminence in your life? Who owns your life? Who's running the show? Who's got the reins? And who are you gonna follow? Are you gonna be the lamb that follows the shepherd wherever he leads? Or are you gonna, in fear, not trusting that you have a shepherd that loves you, are you gonna run out and just do, and maybe I can do this and this, and can we just do this and this, can we just do this and this? And the answer is not here. Because you're not gonna receive, you're not gonna get well, and I know you're not. Because a double-minded man is unstable, he can't receive anything. But tell me you heard something, tell me you waited on the Lord, tell me you prayed, show me what he said. Tell me what he said to you. Tell me what Cynthia told me when I first met her. She said, I've been praying for 4 years for help. She was in such deep trouble for 4 years. And she said, all of a sudden, I started hearing your name. And I must have heard it 4 or 5 times in about 10 days from all different people everywhere. And she said, I just knew in my heart. And she came and she got well. She waited. She waited. Do you understand? The difference, Mel and I will always look at each other when we're interviewing a first patient. And if they say, I know God sent me here because I prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed. And then this happened and I knew. But if they tell me I found you in the yellow pages, it just doesn't really have that same feeling, do you know what I mean?
Okay, so like God knows the LP.
Well, yeah, but no, I don't know. I don't know, Joe. Okay, so what's the difference between somebody who is serving the house? We've got a whole ton more differences, but somebody who's serving the Lord. What do you think the difference would be when he says, the sons of Zadok who come before me to minister unto me, these are the ones that I accept? What do you think the difference would be? The first thing I wrote down was that it's a heart motivated. It's motivated by love. It's motivated by a desire toward God. It's not motivated by fear, and it's not motivated by me trying to save my own neck from this disease or this problem. Me trying to wiggle out of a problem. Me trying to get well. Me trying to make some money off of this thing, or me trying to, save this relationship or whatever. I'm not motivated by me. I'm motivated by a desire to know God and to be in the presence of God and to hear his voice and to know which way he wants to go. Because then I feel safe. Very, very safe. Very secure. Not that things won't come in my path, because things do all the time. I just know what to do, and so I always win. Right? It involves prayer to God. Are you guys praying to God, or are you just reading the books? Maybe reading the chapters of the books in the Bible that I'm telling you to, listening to tapes, or are you really deeply, in humility, on your knees, remembering that you serve your Creator, that you are not the Creator, that you are a created being, and worship God because he's worthy to be worshiped. Not because you need something. You're not going to lie. You're not saying, oh, I don't really need anything. Of course you need something. But you know what, God, right for this very moment, I just want to find entrance into your presence. I want to understand what I'm reading. I want to know that you're taking my hand and you're leading, guiding me down this path, this new path of understanding. Do you understand? There's a huge, huge difference in that. Huge difference. People say all the time, I just got a letter from New Zealand and the guy said, well, you say sometimes sit down and write everything that you know about God that God has shown you. Not what you've heard other people say, but you know. And he said, well, that would take me about 2 minutes. Because I really don't know anything about God except what you've said, and, I said, well, then you're not praying. Then you're not praying. Then you don't have a communication going between you and God. You're not praying. It's not going to hold water in the day of trouble. What I wrote in my books, that's not going to hold water in the day of trouble. I want you to read it because I want you to be encouraged and I want you to be strengthened, but I want you on your knees, hearing from God, recognizing to whom you belong. Learning about the God of Jesus as opposed to, the God of fear and wrath and exacting behavior. Why don't you act like it? Ugh. Determining to hear. I am determined. If I have to kneel here until my knees bleed, I am determined to stay before you until I hear. I'm exaggerating. Obviously, you can get up, go to the bathroom, and eat, drink, and do your stuff. But I'm saying that you are constantly in that mode of staying before God to hear, 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 hear. And telling him that's what you're doing. I'm doing this to hear. I'm doing this because I want to know. Okay, now what's the difference between worship at the graven images and high places? Okay, all the way through Kings and Chronicles, you will find that the children of Israel, when they split off, and the 10 tribes went to the north, and there were 2 tribes, really 3, including the Levites, which were the priests, but 2 tribes, Judah and Benjamin, stayed back in Jerusalem when they were occupied by the Babylonians. Because these 10 tribes went off, they didn't have their temple. They didn't have a place of worship that they were accustomed to doing. They couldn't do their rituals because they didn't have a place. So they built these groves and high places to go and worship God. Okay? They ended up being called Samaritans, among other things. But they wandered off. Well, what he says very clearly is the priests that worship and serve me will tear down the groves and high places. Will not only not erect them, will not only not go and serve at the high places and groves, but will tear them down. And there's a lot of them that they'll say, this king, he was a good king, he served the Lord, but he did not tear down the groves and high places. And another one says, this was a king that was wicked, and he created groves and high places. And you'll read that about the kings as you read this king, that king, this king, and that king. What do you suppose the groves and high places are? They're graven images. What do you suppose a graven image is? Well, when I think of a graven image, I think of something that is imagined in the convolutings of my brain. An image. Name a graven image that we worship. Name a graven image.
The crucifix. Jesus on.
Okay, now you're thinking, yes, and that's where I used to be too, but no. No. Money is a graven image. The fear of not having money is a graven image. That's a terrible graven image.
Fear of getting hurt.
Fear of getting hurt, fear of losing some of your possessions. But there's another one in here that you guys are going to stone me, but I'm going to say it anyway. A graven image. Disease is a graven image. Disease is a graven image, and the whole world believes in it. And the whole world believes in the power of it. And the whole world worships at the altar of it. The whole stinking world worships at the altar of this disease and that disease and this disease, and we force our kids to take shots, and we force this because we believe in it, and we're afraid of it, and we're worshiping it, worshiping it, worshiping it. You go by any hospital, 6, 7, 12, 15 hospitals in this one complex. Graven image. Groves in high places.
Even at the grocery store now.
I'm telling you that God said, I've created you in my image and likeness, and each seed produces after its own kind. And I can't bring forth something that can fail and fall apart. Now, you may run into a suggestion of evil that stands before you and says, look at what I can do to your body. Look at the name I'm going to give it. Look at everybody's reaction to it. Look how evil and wicked and scary it is. Aren't you afraid? Look what I can do to your body. Never mind that God made it. Never mind that He's the eternal spirit of eternal life is what keeps you motivated and living and the adhesive, cohesive quality of your existence. Never mind that I've set my love upon you. Never mind that I've promised to take care of you every day of your life, and never leave you or forsake you. Never mind all those things. Never mind that I'm the only presence. I'm omnipotent. I'm the only power. I am He, and there is none else. Oh, really? Well, if you are he and there is none else, then there is none else. And if there's none else, then there's none else. And if there's none else, what are we falling apart over? Do you understand? Boy, if I live to be 140 years old, let me tear down the groves and high places and the graven image of disease. I mean, the pharmaceutical companies have absolutely taken over television, besides the filth. They've taken over any magazine that you pick up, every page. They're the advertisement of every page. My brother was a vice president of Upjohn Pharmaceutical. He visited me one time and he said, we're gonna start going public. You know, always they shrouded their stuff without telling anybody about it in secrecy. And you never knew what it was, you just took it because they told you to take it. But you didn't. And he said, no, he says, we're gonna tell the whole public about it. And I said, they'll never take it. If they ever found out what was in that junk, they'd never take it. He said, yeah, they will. Because we're gonna talk about how bad the disease is. And that's what they've done. They've marketed the pills. They have to market disease in order to market their pills. They have to market disease in order to market their pills. And if you understood that thought is contagious, say it, thought is contagious. Thought is contagious. When they started talking about breast cancer, and let's all wear pink ribbons, and let's all do pink everything for breast cancer, they say that they have a 50% increase in breast cancer in the last 4 years since they started doing that. A 50% increase. When we were running for leukemia, I wasn't, but when people were running, I don't know why running is going to do anything about leukemia, but they're all out there running for leukemia. Why? Because it increases awareness. Why do you want to increase awareness about a graven image? Why don't you increase awareness about the God that would never ever forsake you? Why don't you increase awareness about, I am he and there is none else. I do not share my power with another. It is not a power. It is a suggestion of evil waiting to see what you're going to do. What are you going to do about that? Reaction! Okay, well then you just gave it power and you just took the power away from God. And that's idolatry. Now you've just erected a grove in the high places and now you're down on the floor sniveling and worshiping. But if you say, you know what? Baloney on this. He that observes lying vanities forsakes his own mercies. I got that out of Judah. I'm not going to observe this lying vanity, and I'm not going to forsake my own mercy. I'm going to go to God, and I'm going to remember that I'm made in the image and likeness of God. I'm going to remember that never changed because it can't change. I'm going to remember that God doesn't change. He's the same yesterday and forevermore. That he is the only power, and he does not share his power with another. And that he is love, and he is good, and he never uses evil for good. That was Hitler. Hitler uses evil for good. God doesn't use evil for good. He doesn't use evil that good might happen. Yuck. Yuck. Would you give your kids cancer so that they come home and start behaving? Give me a break. No, seriously, the things we say about God. No. He doesn't have to throw evil on you for you to turn to him. He just keeps loving you. There is no power greater than love. There's no power greater than mercy, than being blessed, than feeling safe. That's how he's going to draw you. They're suggestions. Looking for a reaction? Or looking for you to say no. No. I'll do what I have to do, because I'll do what I have to do. But I don't give him his power. Power belongs to God. Power belongs to God. Have you ever heard these words? I will not share my power with another. Power belongs to God.
That's what the angels say.
All blessing and honor and power and strength and might and majesty and dominion be unto thee, O God, now and forever and ever, amen. And not unto you, and sometimes unto disease. Same with human conflict. We give so much power to human conflict that escalates into wars and people killing each other. And children suffering. Children suffering. tearing down groves and high places. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven images. Don't do it. But I've already done it. That's fine. Just determine you're not gonna do it again. Now I know. I didn't know. I got caught into this swirl of a tidal wave, but no. I'm saying no. I'm saying no. I dishonor God by honoring this. I gotta make a choice. Am I gonna honor God or am I gonna dishonor God and honor this disease? I'm gonna give power to this disease by reacting and being afraid of it and running like a chicken with my head cut off. In the regions of hell the devil celebrated, we've destroyed the kingly pride. You can almost hear them laughing. Got that one. Oh, got that one. They're scared. Oh, got that one. They don't know God. Oh. Line them up. Well, I'm going for my annual physical. Why? I'm taking a well baby checkup. Why? Is your baby well? Yes, well. Then, why? You're going for an annual checkup because you're looking for a problem? Why? Okay. Two separate kinds of priesthood. Graven image, disease, conflicts, fear of man, fear of being hurt, fear of losing your job, fear of whatever.
Fear of death.
Fear of death, the greatest terror of it all. There were times when I first started the clinic that if I didn't have my appointment book filled for about 2 months in advance, I was a basket case. I had never ever had my own business. I had 2 little bitty babies. I had no parents and nobody to turn to if this didn't fly. And I was used to being a nurse and I got my check, peanuts as it was, every 2 weeks. But at least I got my peanuts every 2 weeks thrown at me, right? And then God told me to do this, and I thought, okay, well, you told me, but in spite of the fact you told me, I was having a difficult time believing he was gonna manage it. And I was scared to death. And this is what he would eventually always say to me, and I would do it. He'd say, you get up out of that bed, and you stop praying for me to bring people who have a need. You get up out of that bed, and you go down to the office, and you go through every single file, and you get on your knees with your files, and you pray for every one of the people that I've already sent. And you pray for wisdom in what they specifically need to heal them. And you quit worrying about yourself. And you get that river flowing out that way. That's another way. You get the river flowing that way, and not this way. Not this way. I remember my sister and brother-in-law died of AIDS. That was before they were testing blood, and he had open heart surgery. He got AIDS and gave it to her before they knew he had it. They both died 4 years later on the same day. Horrible, horrible, horrible. And no, they used to say to me all the time, you get in bed with her, and you hug her, and you're kissing her head, and you're rubbing her back, and you're changing their diapers, and you're feeding them, and you're not wearing gloves, and you're not wearing a mask, and and I said, and I love them. The love that I am pouring out to them is all I care about. I'm afraid of some stupid virus. What is stronger than love? Darn right, nothing. We used to take care of TB people, and we didn't wear gloves, and we didn't worry about that. Hacking up all that nasty stuff. I never got anything. I'm not gonna ever get anything either. You keep loving this way, but when you start thinking, God, what if I get, maybe I should protect myself. Well, then you're cooked. What about me? You're worrying about your business, you're worrying about finances. Who can you, I don't want to go there because that's two things away, but who can you give something to? You give something away. You give to somebody that has a greater need than what you think you have, and then you watch and see what happens. Right?
Yes.
But you, Michelle, if I give, I'll have less. That's fine. You serve the house, you don't serve the Lord. Not everyone who says, Lord, Lord, shall enter into the kingdom of heaven. These people do honor me with their lips, but their hearts are so far from me. Here's another way to serve the Lord. Hearing. Hearing is the key. How can you serve if you don't know what he's telling you to do? It's not hearing. Sacrifice and offerings, David said, I'm not interested in, but my ear have you opened. I don't know how to hear God. Then you tell him you don't know how to hear him, and tell him you want to hear him, and tell him you don't care about anything else right now but hearing. I care about hearing. I care about knowing the truth about you. I care about having a relationship with you. And I'll leave my body and my finances and my relationships and everything up to you. Right now, I'm going to pursue this way, this direction. I knew of a guy I read about in a Christian Science journal years ago, about some guy that was he sold houses. Realtor. He was a realtor, and his business, he had like only 2 houses on the market. His business was pathetic. And he was just praying and grieving and carrying on. And he just closed his shop, he closed his office, went out and sat in his car, because he said, I'm not gonna sit here and wait for the phone to ring, it's not ringing, and he was all upset. And it was pouring rain, and he sat in his car, but he really didn't have any place to go, because that's where he was supposed to be, and he didn't want to be there, and he just sat there. And he heard or felt God say to him, I want you to go down every single person that you know in your church. Every single solitary person in your church. Aw. And
You know, every one in my house.
and I want you to pray for whatever need they may have, sincerely, by name. I want you to pray for every one of you. And he sat there for 2 hours and went down the list and prayed for other people. And when he went back in there, honestly, the answering machine was packed full. And his business from that time prospered, and he never went more than 1 week without spending 2 hours a week praying for everybody in his church, everybody in his family, forgiving them when they screwed up, praying for God's mercy, praying that God bless them, praying that they know God, praying that they not be afraid, that they follow the, whatever. And because he was going this way instead of this way. Right? Yeah.
Yes.
What about you? You're a servant of the Most High God. And you serve God best by blessing and giving. Okay? All right. I'm going to read something out of Isaiah 58, and then we'll come back to Ezekiel 44, and then we'll quit. Are you getting the difference?
Yes.
Did I make it clear enough?
Yes.
There really is a difference. There really is a difference. There's a couple, a family in my neighborhood. I thought I wanted Isabella and Dimitri to, be friends with them and all. They have 4 children. But, by the time they finished grueling me about my grandchildren and whether my grandchildren really were ready to be friends with their homeschool children. And into that, I wouldn't subject my kids to that kind of scrutiny. And then I wanted them to come over. We have a trampoline and we have all kinds of stuff in the backyard, and we have basketball stuff, and I wanted them to come over. No, they'll come over, they can come over here. No, they don't want to come over to my house because, I might be a heathen or something. God. And that's acting like it. That's acting. Somebody give me a break, please. All right, I'm going to read. Second priest, if you turn away your foot from the Sabbath, what does the Sabbath mean?
Rest.
It means to trust. Rest. It means the rest of God. It means to trust. 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 I am, even if you don't feel trust in your heart, I'm choosing to trust. God will put the trust in your heart. That's your choice. I don't know you well enough. I want to know you, but I don't all I know is things I've heard and it scares the life out of me. And all I know is things I've seen and it scares the life out of me. I want to trust you, but I don't really know you, but I want to trust you. Help me trust you. Now that's a fair prayer, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
Help me trust you every day. Help me trust you until you really do trust. So here's what he says about the Sabbath means the time of trusting. Okay, it's not going to church on Sunday. The Sabbath is every day. Every day we learn to trust and we rest in that trust. If you turn away your foot from the Sabbath, from doing your pleasure on my holy day, and call the Sabbath a delight, the holy of the Lord, honorable, and shall honor him, not doing your own way, not going in your own direction, not finding your own pleasure, not doing what you think you might want to do, but without asking, without waiting for direction, not even speaking your own words, but delight yourself in the Lord, and I'll send you on the high places of the earth and heal all your infirmities. It's a tall order, but it's the safest place that you can live out from. The safest place on this planet that you can live is living out from the presence of the Lord. Okay. Okay, that's going to be the peace offering. I'll wait on that. Who knows how to sing that? It is I, Lord. I remember it. Sorry. Here am I, Lord. All right, what page? Okay, somebody who knows the song, raise your hand if you know it. Okay, would you lead them? I'll do my best. Only the problem is that I think I'm doing good and I'm not. Everybody hears it but me.
I know the chorus.
You know the chorus? Can we start with the chorus?
And it is I, Lord. I have heard you calling in the night. I will go, Lord, if you lead me. I will hold your people in my arms.
Okay. I, the Lord, yes, God, I have heard my people. We're going to go a little faster, okay? It sounds like a funeral. Let's pick it up, okay? I, the Lord, yes, God, I have heard my people cry, all who dwell in dark and sin. My hand will sing. I will make the stars of night. I will make the darkness bright. Who will bear my light to them? Whom shall I send? Here I am, Lord. If you lead me, I will hold your people in my arms. All right, let's pick it up. I Lord, snow and rain. I have borne my people's pain. I have wept for love of them. They turn away. Where have you like on?
By the Lord of the wind and flame, I will stand before and claim. I will set a feast for them. My hand will save. Finest bread I will provide, till their hearts be satisfied. I will give my life to them. Whom shall I send? Here I am, Lord. It is I, Lord. I have heard you calling in the night. I will go, Lord, if you lead me. I will hold your people in my heart.
Okay, we haven't come to that verse, 44:28 yet, but we will, probably next week. Okay, so, anybody have any questions before we tune in?
Yeah,
Yes, what?
what happened to the people, the man whose wife died, or mother died from leukemia? The one that was against you?
What happened, okay, wait a minute, okay, she died of leukemia, and who are you asking?
Oh, and the guy who had the ulcers, he died?
Okay, what about him?
She didn't know the finish of the story.
Yeah. Who killed him?
I died.
Who, what? Did God kill him?
Of course not. Okay, good question. No, God killed him. Does God kill him? Does God make alive?
Well, they were against you.
No.
What killed him?
They block the flow of the Spirit. When you have judgment against somebody and you condemn somebody, you block the flow of the Spirit through your life. That is the Spirit of life. If you see the Spirit of life like a river that flows through you, and all of a sudden I decide that I'm going to have a judgment about somebody and I'm going to make their life miserable, I'm going to take them to court, I'm going to turn them in, I'm going to destroy their business, I'm going to destroy all the help that they can give people, I'm going to do everything I can do to ruin them. And she did it because she was jealous, because her son was listening to what I said. And she didn't want that. That was her whole thing. Now, you think that the Spirit of life is flowing through her? She shut it down. When you shut it down, then there's no life flowing. And then who knows what's going to turn out? Unless you repent, and then you open it up again. But if you don't repent, then you shut it down. Now, you going to blame God for that? No. What's the difference? God is like the sun that shines. If you want the warmth of the sun, but you go and you hide in your house, wailing because you don't feel the warmth of the sun, whose fault is that, God? Did God make you freeze to death? When the sun was shining, when he was shining all the time? No, you can't blame God. Same with that guy. Came in with stomach ulcers. Told me he was an alcoholic and his wife had left him. I even held his hand and prayed with him. And the whole time he had a tape recorder going. It was mocking God and mocking me. Turned me in. I should have known when I walked him out to the car, he had a solid gold Cadillac. With all these files stacked on the chair and the passenger side, and I missed that.
I'm getting rid of my jacket. I'm turning it tomorrow.
So he got stomach, and he did have stomach ulcers. He really did, because he had all his medicines. No, he did it to himself. We're supposed to give. We're supposed to love. We're supposed to forgive. We're supposed to have mercy. We're supposed to pray for somebody who's doing something that isn't right. We're not supposed to condemn them, turn them in, send them to jail. Do you understand?
Yes, absolutely.
Who did it? Did God kill them?
No.
No, babe, they killed themselves. Anybody who holds judgment, who doesn't have a heart that's quick to repent, who delights in hurting another person for your own gain, that's suicide. You might just as well go get a gun and do it quick. Because you're shutting down the life that flows through you and you're going to suffer the consequences. It may not be disease. It may be that all of a sudden, you're in poverty. It may be an auto accident. It may be who knows what. That doesn't mean everybody that has an auto accident did something wrong. I'm just telling you that God is not the progenitor of suffering. No way. You ask some of these people that should have been dead 10 years ago, but they're healed. And they'll stay healed for the rest of their lives. Because they turned away from believing I'm being punished by God because maybe I did something wrong in my life. No. I just didn't let that river flow because I didn't know how to. I didn't even know there was one. I didn't even know there was a river of life that was supposed to flow through me. I didn't know how to keep it going. I didn't know that I should wait before the Lord before I made my move. Instead of going here, going there, doing this, doing that.
And if people chose the light, they wouldn't have all the terrorist acts and all that stuff going on either.
No, of course not. And we wouldn't be the recipients of terrorist acts. We just keep loving and giving and keep loving and giving. I used to read Daniel. He prayed 3 times a day, repenting for his sins and the sins of all of Israel. And I used to think, God, Daniel, what in the world did you do all day long? You just had to repent so much. Man, I'm not that great at all, and I don't repent that much. I can't think of anything. No, it was to keep that river open, keep it flowing. So then when he got thrown in the lion's den, he knew he was what? He was innocent. He knew innocence was found in me. Because he kept that thing open, he kept it flowing. He didn't bear judgment, he didn't condemn, he didn't try to hurt another person, get even. He didn't think Mormons weren't worthy of having children. Come on. I never heard of such a thing. And then, you have that kind of an attitude and you've already condemned 100,000 people with that attitude. And then you get sick, and then you blame God. Somebody give me a wild break here. There's nothing that makes a bit of sense about this kind of mentality. No. We got the greatest key in the world to staying whole and healthy. And what is it? We have the greatest key in the world to staying healthy. Repentance. Thank you, Jason. Repentance. Okay?
Yes.
Goodbye. Don't forget the basket in the back.
Remove the veil, wipe away tears, remove all sorrow and all fears, for beyond the veil, all is right, all is whole. Grant me this sight, give grace to know your kingdom now. I trust your spirit to show me how. Dry each face, hear my soul. I cry to see truth perfect and whole. Remove the veil, wipe away tears, remove all sorrow and all fears, for beyond the veil, all is right, all is whole. Grant me this sight, may the sadness morning trumpet your rain. Your tabernacle help me to see. Remove the veil as you dwell in me. Remove the veil, wipe away tears, remove all sorrow and all fears. For beyond the veil, all is right, all is whole. Grant me this sight. Remove the veil, wipe away tears, remove all sorrow and all fears. For beyond the veil, all is right, all is whole. Grant me this sight. Give grace to know your kingdom now. I trust your spirit to show me how. Dry each face, hear my soul. I cry to see truth perfect and whole. Remove the veil, wipe away tears, remove all sorrow and all fears. For beyond the veil, all is right, all is whole. Grant me this sight. May the sadness pass away and your kingdom prevail. Open our hearts and minds, remove the veil, swallow up death, remove all pain, send away morning trumpet your rain. Your tabernacle help me to see. Remove the veil as you dwell in me. Remove the veil, wipe away tears, remove all sorrow and all fears. For beyond